Even if you've only played snooker a few times, then you will have noticed that there's a real problem with the game. But when anyone notices it, they think it's a problem unique to them. But in reality, it affects everybody, from the best players in the world down. So what's causing this problem and what can we do about it? This is Break from Life. Welcome back, and it's your first time watching one of our videos, and it's fantastic to have you here. Snooker has a problem that can seriously affect how well you're able to play the game. Even if you've only played the game as little as 3 times before, there's a good chance you will have noticed it.
And to be honest, it seems really stupid.
It's also a bit of a mystery to why it happens, but if you talk to any snooker player, they will have experienced it at some point, or more than likely on a fairly regular basis. You see, the problem is that some days snooker seems incredibly easy to play, and other days nothing ever seems to go right. But I think there's definitely some strong reasons that explain why this is.
A lot of people will tell you this is just to do with expectations. I mean, if I was playing yesterday and I got a 40 break and I'm left a chance like this, then I'll be expecting to get at least a 40 break now. But I actually think there's a lot more to it than that.
The trouble is, just because I'm expecting to do well here and get more than a 40 break doesn't actually stop me from doing so. Now, I have no way of proving it, but despite my expectations, I managed to make the break, and every shot you see here is consecutive up to the blue, which I had to retake because I said my lines wrong. Was I expecting to say my lines right? No.
So if it isn't expectations, then what's the problem? Why does this only ever seem to affect snooker and not every other sport? And does it affect every snooker player from the bottom to the top? Well, if so, I've come up with some theories.
So to get one of those questions out of the way, this is something I'm asked the most in the YouTube comments, even from people who tell me they just started to play the game. Speaking of comments, Mark Chadwick is from Manchester in England. I've also heard Neil Robertson discuss how this is a problem for him and other professionals, so I think that covers everybody and we can get on with theory 1.
Even though I don't think it's all about expectations, or even this is the main reason, I still think this is something we have to consider. Those of us very familiar with the game will be used to players coming back after a long time not playing the game
and start playing incredibly well. How often have you been told that somebody had a 90 break last night despite not having played the game for several months? Then the second or third time they play, they're unable to play anywhere near as well, and expectations are put down as the main reason they can't take this form forward.
So I have to point out this is unusual. I mean, when somebody comes back to playing the game after a long absence, generally they tend to struggle. But the thing is,
your ability to play the game like this will be greatly influenced by how well you're able to play subconsciously. But if that actually works, why can't you just play like that all the time?
And unsurprisingly, I've got a theory for this as well. Okay, so hopefully you've seen me explain how to line up a shot like this before. Basically, you just need to imagine where the cue ball needs to go, so that's there. And then I can just think about playing my cue straight through the cue ball to the centre of that cue ball. And then, hopefully, if I've done all of that right, that should allow me to just go on and pot the red. However, that is quite a lot to think about, but it's okay because you can do it all subconsciously most of the time, but that actually causes 2 problems. Now, to start off with, on a shot as straightforward as this, you can do it all subconsciously, which is fine if it's working, but when it's not working, people forget they have to consciously think about that again. Now, the game becomes absolutely brilliant to play when you start playing it subconsciously, but the second problem is all of a sudden you might find yourself in a situation where you find yourself under a bit more pressure, or you're not sure what to do. Let's say I need red and pink to win the game here, and I'm still used to playing it subconsciously, but I've got out of rhythm, and you need to be able to focus on what you need to do next, otherwise things can easily go wrong.
The second theory is about body position, and if your body is in exactly the same place shot to shot, then it's unlikely to be the same one day to the next, and this could cause large fluctuations in your form, and that's why I'm giving this a go.
So that's where I was standing to play that shot, and I think I was standing exactly in the right place. So I'm going to go to play exactly the same shot again, just trying to drop the blue in slowly, and I'm going to see exactly where I put my feet this time without looking at the floor at all. Not looking at the floor.
I was actually very surprised here to find how far out my feet were when I next went to play the shot. I was expecting for it only to be a little bit or it to be unmeasurable, not a significant difference. And the chances are if my feet are in this much of a different position shot to shot, then my entire body will be. And that might mean my cue is at a completely different angle. I'm actually surprised I'm able to play as consistently as I do.
And this is probably a big part of the reason why my game's inconsistent sometimes.
Even if you do get everything right, your body does change throughout the day. Your spine, for example, shrinks due to your body weight through the day, and when you lie in bed at night, it stretches back to its original size, making you about half an inch taller in the mornings compared with late at night. Just another reason why things might not feel the same. But does it all look the same? Does anything change in the way your eyes view the world from day to day that could also cause inconsistency? Well, as far as I can tell, no, other than the position your eyes are in and the perspective that gives you.
So what I mean by this is if I go to play a shot and get down on it here, my eyes are now in this position. But as we saw from before, I'm probably not going to stand in exactly the same place every time. So when I do it again, my eyes are now in this position. And that will probably have more of a dramatic effect on the shot than anything.
And having a dramatic effect on our comments mat right now is Lim Ham Long from Singapore. Theory 4 though is going to need a little bit more concentration.
As I was explaining earlier when we were thinking about expectations, the game takes an awful lot of effort to play when you're not playing it subconsciously. So if for any reason you're unable to just focus on the game, then you're really going to start to struggle. Here's a great example of that. I mean, some days I might be so preoccupied by working out whether or not this red goes or whether or not I can play the plant and open everything up, that I might not see the obvious shot is to just put this red and cannon the red and black out, and I'll definitely be on the pink. Now, little tiny differences like that make a huge difference in the game.
I think how much you're able to focus plays a huge part in this, and just the same as when you're tired and you find it difficult to physically keep going, your brain can also become overworked and find it difficult to operate at full capacity. You may be able to subconsciously keep going, but not when you really have to think about things. Theory 5, well,
it's all about chance, so I'm going to try and escape from this snooker as best I possibly can 10 times.
The difficulty of chances I leave on these shots are greatly varied and don't necessarily have any correlation to how well I've played the snooker escape. So the chances you get can be incredibly varied, and that's something you don't control.
I've lost count of how many times that is, but you get the idea. So much of snooker is about touch and feel, and there's no way you can improve your feel for the game when you're not at the table. So if you are getting all the straightforward chances and you're able to take advantage of that, not only is it going to help your confidence, but it's going to help your touch and feel, and it's going to make your opponent's game possibly dip. And that's going to help you as well. So on a good day, when everything starts going right for you, everything really starts going right for you. And on a bad day, when things start going wrong for you, they can really start to go wrong for you. And this can cause a huge, huge difference. And all you can really do when it is going wrong is just be aware of it, so you can make allowances to how it affects your game.
And improving his game from Palmi, Italy is Rocco. Theory 6 makes things even more complicated.
Now this is a little bit more surprising, and something snooker players didn't really realise actually happened until we had slow motion cameras. And there it is. Did you see it? Probably not, because it's hard to see with the naked eye, but it's actually the ball's bouncing on the table.
You don't even need to strike down on the cue ball heavily either, just a standard screw shot will have the balls bouncing around. And when the cue ball strikes an object ball in the air, especially if it's landing on it, it can create a completely different effect than normal.
I explain with the video that's in the card right now, something unusual happens when you bounce the cue ball into the object ball. It seriously widens the angle. You know, it makes straight shots slightly wider. And most of this will be down to the fact that the cue ball isn't on the table when it strikes the object ball. So it actually increases the contact time slightly, pushing the red in this case slightly straighter.
Whether the cue ball is on or off the bed of the table could have a small effect on the result of the shot. Theory 7.
But I do think we have to consider the possibility that there is actually no problem whatsoever. Now I know that seems very unlikely, because some days the game's a lot easier to play than others. So could it be then that the problem is in 100% our own heads?
But honestly, I think there is. Because of the rules of the game, the chance element I've already explained. If you're lucky, you get more table time and are able to start playing well, and if you're unlucky, you get less table time and start playing less well. And I think this loop affects snooker more than any other game, and why you don't see this problem so much in any other sport. And I think there's only two ways this can change. If a player is able to focus on the key shots, especially when it comes to lining a shot up, they'll be able to fight against the system. And the second way, of course, is if a player has a greater technical ability than their opponent, this will swing the system back the other way. And over time, usually does. And why not find out more about snooker, for example, why snooker players don't wear gloves? Or find out how Steve Davis changed snooker forever. And remember, don't just watch, play. And make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.